All right, ladies and dudes, today's episode is brought to you by the great state of Texas. Let's get it on. Yeehaw! What's up, YouTube? It's this guy, Jeremy McDonald. Let me hear you say it. One of your very favorite people with Parkinson's. Of course, that's Jeremy, also known as J-Mac, Jeremy Mac. Let's do this thing. All right, thanks to Mike Foster for the t-shirt. He's from Texas. I just got to say, if you ever want to send me a t-shirt, I will wear it and give you credit. I remember I originally said from different countries. Well, it's kind of probably expensive to ship. Send me one of your states. Send me one of your favorite rock bands. I'll wear pretty much everything unless it has nudity or obscenity on it. You can send me those. I just won't wear them on camera. All right, this week's episode. Oh, by the way, 6 J-Mac t-shirts left. 6 large, 6 extra large. Email me at Jaymacpodcaster, Jaymac, Jaymac, podcaster at gmail.com. Get them while they last. I don't know if I'm going to make another batch. It's been a lot of work. A lot of fun, but it's been a lot of work. So 6 left. Jaymac, podcaster at gmail.com. I'll put the link in. I got a link in. I'll put the link below. All right, today's episode is going to be about getting older or Parkinson's, or some version of that. When I was first diagnosed, I felt like an old man. Now, I was 36 when I was diagnosed, and I started having significant symptoms or noticeable symptoms by the age of 30. Now, I got my rock band era in during those 4 years where I felt still reasonably good, but I felt old as hell. Now, let's go through some symptoms that old age brings on that could be Parkinson's or could not be Parkinson's. First of all, moving slow. A lot of old people move slow. They hurt. I don't think moving slow is necessarily bradykinesia. I was moving slow. I was 36 at the time, and I was moving so slow and looking so old and frail that I had switched shifts and went to the night shift to get easier work. And one of the bosses who I didn't know, me and this other guy, we were joking about our birthday and how being old and stuff. And the boss said, "How old are you?" And I said, 36. And he looked at me like, "You got to be kidding me." I could see in his face. He didn't say it because he didn't want to be rude, but he thought, he was like, "Dude, you look old." And then I had people tell me, you look so old. You're moving slow. And I just thought, I'm run down. My job was very brutal. If you did a lineup of the people that I work with, a lot of them had trouble walking, had broken arm, like messed up shoulders, elbows, knees, hips, you name it. It's the walking wounded. So once again, I didn't think a lot of it. Weakness. As people get older, they're in more pain and their muscles don't work as good sometimes. Now, my grandpa on my mother's side, he was a hoss till he was pretty much he passed away. He was just strong and fast, but it's not unusual for older people to get stiff and slow and have trouble doing things with like muscle weakness because they're getting older. That leads into pain. When you get older, can attest to this, even though I'm only 48, spring chicken, to some people's standards, your body hurts. Parkinson's can make your body hurt. Specifically, for my case, for like straining muscles or working too hard to try to keep up with your lack of dopamine, your muscles just get exhausted. Here's something else, memory issues, maybe getting confused or not being able to remember why you went in a room. I mean, to a person, every person I talk to says after a certain age, and I'm talking people my age and younger, they said they can't remember when they go in a room what they're there for. That's pretty common. Doesn't necessarily mean there's mental issues there like dementia or Parkinson's or anything like that. It could be, but a lot of times it's just getting older. It's not anything to be really concerned about. Tremor. This is something, I'm not going to get political here because I don't do that on this show, so you can take this or leave this for whatever you want. I know I saw former President Bill Clinton, I guess maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and his hand was kind of shaking when he was talking. He was waving his hand, it was shaking, and I thought, does this dude have Parkinson's? Well, at least according to what he said, now take it or leave it, I mean, they call him Slick Willie for a reason. He said that his doctors told him it's just an old age thing. Sometimes old people get a little bit shaky. I guess it's just part of being old. I mean, you could drink too much caffeine. There's other reasons to shake other than Parkinson's. But when they all come together, when all these symptoms, slowness, stiffness, trouble thinking clearly, tremor, when they all come together, it could be a recipe for Parkinson's. Now, I do get messages on this channel from people that are wanting me to help diagnose them. I can't do that. Or people wanting me to tell them how their disease is going to progress. I can't do that. But I would say if you're having multiple symptoms, like I listed, slowness, stiffness, trouble with your memory, tremor, there's other things, trouble walking, go see your neurologist or an MDS. If an MDS, I guess, is what you get, a movement disorder specialist, after you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. I believe a neurologist is, at least in my case, the neurologist diagnosed me and then sent me to a movement disorder specialist. It's a tough thing. I mean, for me, I feel like they should have known earlier, but I was 30. I started going to the doctor for stuff around 33, 34. Parkinson's was on nobody's radar, including mine at that age. I mean, I wasn't even 50 yet, wasn't even 40 yet. And there was part of me that thought, if this is getting old, I take, Lord, take me now. Because it was just so hard. I was riding my motorcycle, my hands would get stiff and locked up on the brakes and the clutch. My foot would have trouble shifting, downshifting. Sometimes my toe would get caught under the gear shift, which is not a good thing to happen. I remember trying to skateboard. Now, granted, a lot of people don't skateboard into their 30s, but all my friends did. And I mean, here's the thing. I could still skateboard, but I noticed I was getting stiff. My legs weren't as springy, but I just thought, I'm older. My knees hurt. I'm older. I've worked a long time in a warehouse. So go figure. Now, this last story I'm going to leave you with is kind of me looking back, remembering an incident that happened that I felt very awkward and very bad for the man at the time. And little did I know, maybe 30 years later, was going to something similar was going to happen to me. I used to work at a plant nursery. By the way, Willie Nelson, tougher than leather. I thought you got tougher when you got older. I'm not tough. I'm a little noodle. I'm a little wet noodle now. I can't do crap. Back to my story. So this little man, he would kind of remind, this little man came into this plant nursery. Let me just start over. I worked at a plant nursery. Getting ahead of myself, so excited. Which is probably where I got Parkinson's, because I probably got pesticide and herbicide all over me in the yard where I worked with all the live plants. Story for another day. This little man, I'd seen him come in a couple times before, and I remember him buying the little memorial wreaths for, I guess, his dead wife. I'm assuming his wife had passed away, and they sold these little, like, funeral. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And he would kind of remind me of Don Knotts, from Mayberry. Nip it in the bud, Ange. The shakiest gun in the West. Apple Dumpling Gang. Very small, very frail, very, very old-looking man. And I remember he came in one day, the last time I ever saw the guy, he came in and he was once again buying the little memorial wreaths for I'm assuming for one of his relatives. I'm just assuming his wife, for the sake of this conversation. And he was checking out at the register, and there was a commotion. I looked up, and he was shaking, and he was angry, and he was pointing his finger at the cashier. I guess it was a guy, but I just call him a cashier. I don't know if that's a proper term. And he was pointing his finger at him, going, "I gave you 20, and you only gave me X amount of change back." And this he was fairly new. His name was Clarence. Nice guy. He was like, "Sir, you gave me whatever," and they were having an argument, and the manager had to come down, because I could tell, and I shouldn't make the crazy sign, this guy was confused. He was confused and he was angry, and I don't know that it was some kind of cognitive thing, but from the way he was acting and shaking and like just being very obtuse, that's a word for you, he was flustered in a way that led me to think it was some kind of mental lapse on his part, whether it be dementia or Parkinson's or something like that. And I remember feeling so bad for the cashier, because the guy at the register didn't know what to do. He was a younger guy, didn't know what to do. But as I look back to it, I mean, now I still feel sorry for the cashier, but as I look back now, I really empathize with the guy, the old man buying the wreath, because that's how I felt when I finally realized that I can't do my job anymore previous to being diagnosed with Parkinson's. I actually got medicine, was able to do it for a couple more years. I remember it was a Friday night shift, probably the same night that the guy, the boss told me that I looked like crap, basically looked like a piece of warm dog turd. And I'm on the loader and I'm loading the different. I've got 15 doors to cover, and the shipping guys would come down and would cover the dock with all the different stores. They went, store 128 went to door 55 and so on. And I remember it got really crazy. I never worked on a Friday night before. I never would have picked the job if I knew how crazy it was going to get. And I remember my brain just started to short circuit in a way that I never experienced before. It was panic. Suddenly all the numbers started to run together. I just wanted to get down and scream at everybody, give me 5 effing minutes to sort this shit out. Because I could not coordinate my body and my mind at the same time. Like, now, if you would have given me like an infinite amount of time, sure, I could have figured it out with no pressure. But I got guys on pallet jacks dropping crap everywhere, blocking my way. I got the boss yelling at me. I just was so flustered and so upset. But it wasn't a typical memory issue. It was more than that, because I was having trouble moving at the same time, and it scared the hell out of me. So I now, looking back, what happened, by the way, I got off the loader and I told my boss, put me on the floor while I just walk and do stuff. And that he said later, you freaked me out, dude. He's like, you came in looking all weird and crazy. I didn't know what was wrong with you. I didn't know either. But looking back at that old man at the register, that's exactly how I felt. I just wanted to yell and scream at everybody, and it's your fault. It's your fault you put this pallet here. It's your fault because you blocked this door. It's your fault because you're yelling at me. And that was not the only incident I had like that, but that was by far the most frightening one. So leave me some comments, old age or Parkinson's. Maybe give me some symptoms that you had that you thought was just old age creeping up on you that later turned out to be Parkinson's. Or maybe symptoms you thought were Parkinson's that just turned out to be old age. It could be either or. I love hearing from you guys. Your comments and messages mean the world to me. Once again, shout out to Mike Foster from Texas, the Lone Star State. I've always been fascinated with the state of Texas. I've got some listeners from Texas. What's up, Esther? And I can't remember all the names, folks. I get a lot of emails, but definitely Esther lives in Texas. And yeah, I love hearing from you. You make my day when I get your text and your messages and your emails. Jaymacpodcaster@gmail.com. Trust me, I read everything I get. I try to respond to everything I get. So far, so good, but as the channel grows, it's getting harder and harder to keep up, but I still love hearing from you guys. That's all I got. By the way, St. Louis is crap right now. It's like an oven out there. It's like an oven with a sauna at the same time. That's why I'm doing my videos inside. I'm not going outside, because I'm not like Willie Nelson here. I'm not tougher than leather. That's all I got from the brutally hot city of St. Louis. Peace and love.